The wind howls through the valleys of Wales. Frost hangs on the hedges. A knock rattles at the door. You open it, and there it is, a horse's skull. Empty sockets gleaming, ribbons dangling, a white sheep draped to hide the figure beneath. Its jaw snaps, its voice sings, demanding entry. It is no living creature. It is the Mari Lwyd, the gray mare, a spirit from beyond, visiting in midwinter, knocking at doors, seeking food, drink, and recognition. And as you face her grinning skull, you realize Halloween never ends. It only changes its mask. I am Gregory Hallows, and this is Preserve Halloween Podcast. On today's episode, we meet the Mari Lwyd, Wales skeletal horse spirit of winter, part ghost, part ritual, part carnival. The Mari Lwyd is one of the eeriest and most fascinating traditions in European folklore. She knocks at doors in December and January, but her hollow gaze is the same one we see on jack-o'-lanterns. Her procession is a mirror of trick-or-treating, and her meaning is Halloween through and through. It is the dead walking among the living, honored through masks, offering, and play. So throughout all of these folklore stories I've been doing the last few weeks, it's all back to honoring the dead, right? So that's kind of where all of this comes from, which is, the ties to Halloween. I did have to look up the pronunciation of Mari Lwyd, and I'm probably going to say it wrong a couple times, so don't hold that against me. The Mari Lwyd is a wassailing folk custom in South Wales. The tradition entails the use of an eponymous hobby horse, which is made from a horse's skull, mounted on a pole, and carried by an individual hidden under a sheet. The custom was first recorded in 1800, with subsequent accounts of it being produced into the early 20th century. Now, I wanted to explain what wassailing was. There's two categories. There's the house visiting wassail and the orchard visiting wassail. The house visiting wassail, which traditionally occurs on the 12th day of Christmastide, known as Twelfth Night or Epiphany Eve, the 5th of January. This is the practice of people going door to door, singing and offering a drink from the wassail bowl in exchange for gifts. This practice still exists, but has largely been displaced by carol singing. The orchard visiting wassail refers to the custom of visiting orchards in cider-producing regions of England and singing to the trees to promote a good harvest for the coming year. Notable traditional wassailing songs include Here We Come A-Wassailing, Gloucestershire Wassail, and Gower Wassail. So nothing like going out into an orchard and just screaming at trees to do their job, right? The Mari Lwyd was a tradition performed at Christmas time by groups of men who would accompany the horse on its travels around the local area. And although the makeup of such groups varied, they typically included an individual who carried the horse, a leader, and individuals dressed as stock characters such as Punch and Judy. The men would carry the Mari Lwyd to local houses where they would request entry through song. The householders would be expected to deny them entry, again through song, and the two sides would continue their responses to one another in this manner. If the householders eventually relented, the team would be permitted entry and given food and drink. So it's like West Side Story, right? They're just singing back and forth in a battle until one of them decides they're tired of it and gives up and gives them drinks. Although the custom was given various names, it was best known as the Mari Lwyd. The etymology of this term remains the subject of academic debate. The folklorist Irwith Peat believed that the term meant Holy Mary and thus was a reference to Mary, Mother of Jesus, while folklorist E.C. Cott thought it more likely the term originally meant gray mare, referring to the head of the horse and its appearance. So nothing like an academic battle over what words mean, which is always fun. Several earlier folklorists to examine the topic, such as Pete and Ellen Ettlinger, believed that the tradition had once been a pre-Christian religious rite, although scholarly support for this interpretation has declined amid a lack of supporting evidence, because that's how science works. You got to have proof. The absence of late medieval references to such practices and the geographical dispersal of the various British hooded animal traditions, among them the hoodening of Kent, the broad of the Cotswolds, and the old ball, old tup, and old horse of northern England, have led to suggestions that they derive from the regionalized popularization of the 16th and 17th century fashion for hobby horses among the social elite. So what are the origins of the gray mare? Horses have always been powerful symbols of Celtic culture. They are guides of the soul, carrying the dead into the other world. In ancient Irish and Welsh myths, spectral horses ferry heroes into realms of shadow and light. So when a horse's skull appears at your door, it is more than a mask. It is a messenger from the land of the dead. Some scholars see the Mari Lwyd as a survival of ancient pagan rituals tied to fertility and rebirth in winter's heart. Others see Christian overlays shaping her into a penitent figure demanding alms. But in either case, she is liminal between life and death, between winter and spring, and between this world and the next, much like almost every folklore we've talked about. The ritual of the Mari Lwyd is not just a skull on a stick. She comes alive through ritual. A group of men, often dressed in tatters or festive clothes, carry the skull mounted on a pole. Beneath the white sheet, the carrier makes the jaw snap open and shut. Bells and ribbons dangle from the bone, and together the group goes door to door through the village. At each house they sing, and the household replies in rhyme, trying to outwit the Mari Lwyd in a contest of song. Like I said before, it's like West Side Story, right? If the household fails, the Mari Lwyd and her companions are invited inside, given food and drinks, and allowed to roam. If the household wins, the Mari moves on, but she always returns year after year. So that's a cool, it's like a horse vampire. You have to be invited in to be able to do anything. This call and response is more than entertainment. It is a demand for recognition, a challenge at the threshold, a ritualized version of what children do during Halloween in their costumes. They knock, they demand, they receive. It's trick or treat. You get to choose. So imagine opening your door in the middle of winter and finding a grinning horse skull snapping its jaw, demanding entry. That would scare me to death. The effect is super eerie, even unsettling. I mean, that goes without saying. It is literally death at your doorstep, cloaked in ribbons, asking for a drink. So it's like, hey, at least it's friendly death, right? Maybe they'll ask you to play chess. And yet, also playful, communal, celebratory. Like Halloween, the Mari Lwyd makes death familiar by mocking it, by singing with it, by feeding it, and defanging and taking away that fear. And that's the thing I think a lot of times people overlook is a lot of these rituals were made for people to confront death. And, it's a natural part of life. I'm trying, my youngest daughter and my oldest daughter went through the same thing. She's had these thoughts of, what happens to me when I pass away, and she gets really sad about it. And I try to ease her mind the best I can, but by letting her know that it's natural, everybody's born, everybody dies, no one lives forever. Unlike, what Oingo Boingo tells us. Or no, exactly like what they tell us. That's their song. Anyway, this skull is no accident. It is a reminder in Memento Mori. The dead are with us. They are not only to be feared, but they can join us in song and laughter and festivity. And a lot of cultures do that a lot better than in America. They celebrate death. They celebrate their ancestors. They celebrate in a way different way than a lot of us do here in America. So what are the parallels to Halloween? The Mari Lwyd is Halloween in winter clothing. Consider this. Masks and costumes are similar. The horse skull is a mask of death, just as Halloween costumes disguise the living as spirits. And that was, So the basis of dressing up on Halloween is you're supposed to be able to hide from the Walking Dead. It is a liminal time. Halloween marks Samhain, when the veil thins. Mari appears at midwinter, another liminal point of the year. There's a demand for tribute. Mari sings for entry, for food, for drink, just as Halloween children demand candy. All of these traditions reveal the same truth. We survive fear by ritualizing it, by inviting the dead in, but on our own terms. So that's what I was saying. Like, all these things were created for us as humans to be comfortable about death. And it works for some people, it doesn't for others. Folklore preserves countless tales of the Mari Lwyd. In some, she is mischievous, overturning furniture once inside. That's funny. You sing these battle songs, and then you get invited in, and then you come inside and just toss furniture. What a butthole. In others, she's honored with ale and cakes, treated as a guest from another world. In every version, though, she brings disruption, laughter, and fear. All of them, not just one. This is the mixture we find in Halloween's trick-or-treating, right? So there's disruption because back in the day, turned over outhouses and put cows up on the roof and just caused mayhem. And he had a lot of fun, so there's laughter and all that. And then the fear of, everyone wants to be scared at Halloween. That's like the adrenaline rush. So imagine children today dressed as skeletons, knocking on doors. Now imagine them doing this wearing a real skull with ribbons and then singing you a song when you open the door. That would be terrifying, right? But the continuity is very similar. These are very similar acts. But why a horse, right? Like we said before, Celtic tradition, horses were sacred to goddesses like Epona and Rhiannon, like the Fleetwood Mac song. They carried souls, they crossed boundaries. A gray mare was often seen as a harbinger of death. By carrying the horse's skull, villagers were not just making a mass, they were summoning a psychopomp, which is a guide of the dead. So there's a reason for all this, right? Symbolism ties directly to Halloween. The jack-o'-lantern's face is a skull. The Mari Lwyd is a skull given a voice, so it's a singing skull. Both are thresholds, reminder of mortality, and invitations to confront the dead with humor and ritual, not just fear. Throw in some fun and make it a thing. Like the Wild Hunt and Perkta, the Mari Lwyd was reshaped by Christianity, like most things were. Priests frowned on her as a pagan holdover, yet she survived, recast as a penitential figure, begging from door to door, singing for alms. In some stories, she became a wandering soul, doomed to walk in skeletal form. So that sounds like Stingy Jack, right? But no matter the overlay, the ritual remained, the skull, the song, the knock at the door, the dead will not be silenced. So how has the Mari Lwyd survived all this time? She nearly faded in the 19th and 20th century. Industrialization, urbanization, and the church's disapproval dimmed her presence. But in recent decades, like a lot of things, this ritual has returned. Welsh communities have revived the tradition as a symbol of culture and identity. Today, the Mari Lwyd processions take place in towns across Wales, eerie and festive, linking the modern world to the ancient, which you can't forget the past. I mean, there's that old saying, you have to remember the past or you're doomed to repeat it. History is very important. Traditions are very important. There's a lot of languages that there are very few people that are keeping them alive, and I commend them tremendously for keeping these things alive. At its heart, the Mari Lwyd is a Halloween ritual. A skeleton knocks at your door. You must answer. You must give them something. You must face death and then laugh with it, which is awesome. This is what Halloween teaches us. This is what the Mari Lwyd embodies. Like I said, it's all back to confronting death and being okay with that fact that it's part of life. So what are we going to talk about next time? It's another quick history of a really fun folklore. So I'm going to talk about other midwinter processions, maybe the carnival devils of Eastern Europe, maybe the mass festivals in Italy, the haunted parades of the Alps. But whatever I talk about on the next podcast, they all have the same, basis. Halloween is not just a night, it's a pattern. Death walks, we dress up, we parade, we knock, we offer, and we continue to preserve it again and again and again throughout the years. So if you get the chance to go to Wales in the dead of winter, be listening for that knock at your door. And if you open it and you see a skull grinning with ribbons, do not be afraid. Invite her in, sing with her, share a drink. She is the Mari Lwyd. She carries Halloween's spirit in her bones. We must praise her and invite her to the family. Until next time, stay strange, stay curious, stay spooky, and always preserve Halloween.